Okay, thank you for joining me today, Minister.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Okay, so yesterday, Bill Shorten called for a bipartisan approach to dementia care policy during a doorstop interview. You've also previously spoken of your hope for a bipartisan approach to aged care reform. How serious is your party about achieving a bipartisan or multi-party approach to dementia and aged care policy?
Well, I've always taken the view that what's in my portfolio, ageing and disability, really is the core business of government. It's providing support to people who face extra challenges for reasons beyond their control. And I think as far as possible, it's important to elevate policy in those areas above the partisan fray, because people who have additional needs and their families aren't terribly interested in partisan point scoring. That's the approach that we took when we were in opposition in relation to aged care, essentially supporting the previous government's reforms. It's the approach we took in relation to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and I'm happy that bipartisanship has continued with the NDIS, but I've been a little disappointed in the opposition's response to our decision to cease the Dementia and Severe Behaviours supplement, because that was something that they designed not terribly well, had significant cost blowouts. And I think particularly since they had responsibility for that design, rather than taking a partisan approach to our decision, they should be taking a positive and constructive approach. And I hope that the opposition follow through on their stated desire for a bipartisan approach.
So, as you mentioned, the opposition have also mentioned that they would like a bipartisan approach, and today the Greens also mentioned it. But they said that they've never been invited by yourself to discuss aged care policy or dementia care politics. Would you be open to possibly discussing the future of dementia care and aged care policy with both the opposition and with the Greens?
Look, I'm always very interested in talking to my colleagues, regardless of the party they're in, as the manager of government business in the Senate. I spend most of my time in sitting weeks talking to cross-party, cross-bench senators, talking to opposition senators. So very happy to sit down and talk. I think that as much as we possibly can elevate aged care beyond partisanship, that's a good thing.
Given that each party at the moment is quite firm in its stance on the dementia and severe behaviours funding and on aged care policy as a whole, do you think a multi-party agreement is likely to be achieved, even if you get around a table and chat?
Well, I think that the place to start is to recognise that taking the dementia and severe behaviour supplement, that the previous government were well-intentioned. They allocated $11.7 million in the last financial year, a scheme that was intended to support 2,000 people through payments to providers. The reality is, in the last financial year, that came in at $110 million and 29,000 people rather than 2,000. Over the forward estimates, rather than $52 million expenditure. On a current policy basis, it would have been $780 million and $1.5 billion over 10 years. So there was a serious issue with that design. We had, I think, no option but to conclude that supplement, and we're now moving to work with and talk to providers, consumer groups, carers, about how we can craft something that can be more targeted and that can also be within a budget. Now, if the opposition are keen to be part of discussions with me on that, then that would be a good thing. But there's firstly got to be an acceptance that there was an issue with the original design, and as yet all the opposition are doing is calling for the reinstatement of what was in place before, which we know was not well targeted and massively exceeded its budget.
So I guess the main gripe that the ALP have about the dementia and severe behaviours funding cut is that they say that you inherited it, so they have agreed, but that you would have known about it in September a year ago when your party came to government, and they were upset about the fact that there's been so much time that's gone by where if action had taken place initially as soon as you got into government, we could already have a solution in place now. What's your response to that?
Well, the supplement was only in place for a year, and I'm not sure that it's entirely reasonable of the opposition to blame us for what they themselves designed. It wasn't well targeted. We looked at different options as to what could be done, but in the end we came to the conclusion that the best thing to do was to cease the supplement and to look at the situation from scratch.
So, focusing on the future, you've called for a forum to be held on September 11. What do you hope the outcome of that forum is?
Looking forward to the forum, I think that the starting point is to recognise that dementia care for people who have dementia, is really part of the core business of aged care. It has been presented by the opposition that the Dementia and Severe Behaviours Supplement was in some way the core funding for people in aged care who have dementia. That wasn't the case. It was only ever intended to provide additional support to providers for people with severe behaviour. So I think the starting point at the forum has got to be to recognise that the core business of aged care, part of it is support for people with dementia, but I want to work through with providers, large and small, with consumers, with carers, what would be a good mechanism, a targeted mechanism, and a mechanism that could operate within a budget to provide additional support to people who do have severe behaviour related to dementia. That's what I hope comes from it.
Shane Newman and Rachel Seward have both said that they weren't invited to the forum, which goes against the spirit of multi-party politics. Was there a reason why both opposition politicians weren't invited?
Well, as Minister, as government, you invite stakeholders and who have an interest in crafting something better, who recognise there were flaws in what was. The opposition have essentially said publicly many times that they didn't see issues with the former Dementia and Severe Behaviour Supplement, and that their solution is simply to reinstate it without any explanation as to where they might find $780 million over the forward estimates, in addition to the $52 million which was allocated. So I simply took the opposition at their word that their policy, their position was what they said, which was to reinstate the Dementia and Severe Behaviour Supplement as it was. I wanted to sit down with people who wanted to take a constructive approach.